Okay, so I've been studying the Precious Garland by Nagarjuna during the retreat. And I thought I'd share with you a little bit of what he covers. Because in the first section, he really makes the point that our spiritual goals kind of fall into two camps. One is what they call high status, meaning having an upper rebirth. And the second is definite goodness, meaning having attaining liberation or full awakening. Okay? And these two are related because chances are we won't attain full awakening in this lifetime. And so we need to create a series of good rebirths, in other words, rebirths of high status, so that we can, in each of those, again practice the Dharma. Okay? So, our ultimate goal is, our principal goal is definite goodness, liberation, or in our case as Mahayana practitioners, full awakening. But the essential goal that we have to practice is, or the essential thing we have to do right now, the most imminent thing, is make sure we get a good rebirth in a future life so that we can continue practicing. Okay? So Nagarjuna then goes on to explain that faith is the cause of a good rebirth, and that wisdom is the cause of definite goodness. And so what he means here by faith is having faith in the law of karma and the functioning of our actions and their results. In other words, our actions have an ethical dimension and they bring results. And that is called faith because the understanding the law of karma and its results is not an obvious thing, and it's not something that we can even realize by inference, by the power of the fact. It's something that we have to rely on the authoritative testimony of a reliable being such as the Buddha to be able to understand fully. Okay? And so we try and cultivate that faith in the Buddha and in the scriptures that teach about karma, because when we have that faith, then we'll want to keep good ethical conduct, we'll want to create virtuous actions. And then on the basis of creating those virtuous actions, we will have another good rebirth in which we can continue to practice, have another good rebirth in which we continue to practice, and on and on and on. And in all of those rebirths, also developing our wisdom, so until the point where our wisdom becomes strong enough where it can completely dismantle all of the self-grasping forever. Okay, so as we have that series of good rebirths, and grow our wisdom, we'll slowly be able to have better control over our mind, and then we'll reach a certain point of the path where we'll eliminate all the acquired afflictions. Then we'll be able to start eliminating from the root all of the innate afflictions, and then eventually they'll be completely eliminated. And if we continue on from there, then also cleansing the mind of all the subtle stains and the subtle dualistic view, and then finally resulting in full awakening. So he's saying this is the way that we have to go. Yeah. And so I was thinking that so often, when we come to the Dharma, it's like, karma, it's like, I don't understand that anyway, and it sounds kind of moralistic, and so I want to go directly to the, to definitive goodness. And so that sometimes gets us into trouble. Yeah, because we're, what do they call it? We're trying to be we turn out to be the bunny rather than the turtle. Yeah, something like that. Or we're making shortcuts. Yeah, that's what we're doing, trying to do a shortcut. So then in the text, Nagarjuna goes along to describe the causes for upper status, okay, for causes for a good rebirth. And we've heard this all in the context of the Lam Rim, but Precious Garland was written before the Lam Rim text came into being. So it's very interesting to see it from Nagarjuna's perspective and to see how the Lam Rim was based on what Nagarjuna taught in Precious Garland. So he starts out with the causes of upper rebirth are abstaining from the 10 non-virtues. Okay, so I'm not going to go into those because we know what they are already. But he says there's 16 causes of upper rebirth, 16 factors that we have to bring into our practice. So the first 10 are abstaining from the 10 non-virtues. Then there's 3 others that are called blameworthy actions to abandon, and 3 others that are things to practice. Okay, so also to be abandoned is taking intoxicants, because that makes our mind, bad decisions and quite fuzzy and difficult to meditate when you're intoxicated, Although, when I first went to Copan in 1975, most of the people there were hippies coming up from Freak Street, kind of like, and saying, "Oh, Lama, what do you think about dropping acid and then meditating?" Your visualizations must be really good when you do that. Yeah, the colors are very bright, and make a really good case to Lama for the values of smoking dope and dropping acid before meditating. And Lama would just look at us and say, "Your mind is already hallucinating, dear. You don't need to do that." And then he'd give a talk on emptiness to explain how we're hallucinating already. Okay, then the next one to abandon is what did I write down here? Yeah, wrong livelihood. Okay, so in the context of a lay practitioner, it's being in making or selling armaments or poisons or pornography or intoxicants or, anything that damages others, or even doing a legitimate business, but, deceiving people by the weights you use or lying and cheating to your clients or your customers. In terms of the monastics, it's the 5 wrong livelihoods, which I've gone through before, so I won't talk about now. I'll just list them. So hinting, flattery, giving a small present to get a big one. Putting somebody in a position where they can't decline to give you something, or being pretentious, making somebody think you're really important so they'll give you something. And then hypocrisy. Okay, and so that's the second thing, intoxicants to abandon, wrong livelihood to abandon, and then harming others, okay, is the third thing to abandon. So this could be harming them physically by things short of killing them, beating them up, or, having unprotected sex and giving them a disease, or, harming others emotionally or things like that. So those are the other 3 blameworthy things to abandon. Then there's 3 more to get to our total of 16. So the first one is making offerings to those who are worthy. Okay, so offering is always a practice that's encouraged within all religions, especially within Dharma. And those who are worthy, Nagarjuna says, are our preceptors, our Dharma teachers, people who show us a good example, and actually, in general, all sentient beings. So the practice of being generous, so being generous with material goods, being generous, there's the generosity of protecting others from danger. The generosity of love and encouraging and supporting people when they need it. And the fourth one is the generosity of Dharma, sharing the Dharma with others. So we want to practice generosity. And then okay, so the three good ones are generosity, and then honoring those who are worthy of honor. Okay, so again, our preceptors, Dharma teachers, even people who aren't our Dharma teachers, but who know more than we do. Yeah, people who have many excellent qualities, who create a lot of virtue. So paying respect and honoring those people. By the way, when he talked about generosity, he called it respectful giving. Yeah, so it wasn't just giving, it was giving with respect. Okay, and so here, when there's a chance to make the offering, to make it ourselves when we can, instead of asking others. Of course, maybe you're asking a friend to take an offering to Bodh Gaya to make offerings, so, that's fine. But when we can do it ourselves, by the way, Dan was very pleased with the warm welcome he received yesterday here and the offerings he received. That's a good example of what the community did. And then also respectful giving is giving with both hands. Yeah, some people, when they give something, they're kind of walking by and they just put it in front of you and keep going. And that's not really giving. You are failing to really make the connection with the other person. So it's very good to really give with both hands and, pause for a minute, make the offering a time of connection when we can. Instead of, well, I'm going to hurry, here's this, and I go on. Yeah. Okay, and then the third thing to practice, in the text it just says love, but what he means is the four immeasurables: love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Yeah, so really practicing those, because it makes our own mind joyful and it improves our relationship. And by changing our own attitude, and lessening some of our very gross afflictions, it's going to make it easier to practice the preceding 15. Okay? So this is, I just summarized several verses into a short time, but I think you got the essence. But there's really quite a bit to think about in this. Yeah? And checking our, whenever we hear a Dharma teaching or read something, checking our life with the Dharma teaching. Yeah. So how does my life correspond to what, in this case, Nagarjuna is teaching us? Yeah. And am I following those 16? Or am I kind of, brushing some of them off, or ignoring others, or too lazy to do a few of them, or rationalizing several, more. And so really using it as a way to think about, how can I improve myself? Yeah, so this is a lot of the kind of contemplation that we want to be doing during retreat, where we have a period of silence where we can actually think about these things in depth instead of, 18 million things pulling at our attention. We can actually sit and think about the teachings and apply them to our lives.